Hi, I'm Gavin Shields and this is Self-Storage Explained. Expert advice on how to set up and scale your self-storage business. Okay. Hello and welcome back and welcome to Sebastian who's joined us from Rubik. Thank you for joining, Sebastian, and can I start by asking you to introduce yourself? And I know you've been in self-storage for a while, so we've been in touch for 3 or 4 years over a while. So you've obviously been in the industry for a while. Do you want to introduce yourself first of all, please?
Of course. Hi, Gavin. Thank you for having me. I'm Sebastian Karakes. I'm here in Vienna, Austria. I'm founder for Rubik, an access solution. It's correct. I've been working in self-storage for quite a while. I think at the end of the year, it will be 10 years. You know, I'm a software developer who just started out helping companies automate their businesses, and that's how I got into the field. And that's how I also eventually founded Rubik.
Okay. So Rubik, it's something that we've just recently integrated with into Stora. So and it's quite different to most of the other ones that we talk about. So would you mind just giving a bit of an introduction to what is Rubik? How does it work?
Yes. Okay, so Rubik is basically a management system for combination padlocks. Combination padlocks like these ones, padlocks with typically a 4-digit code. And typically the question that I get for Rubik is why so low tech? Why not smart locks? The reason for this is, having worked in self-storage for a long time, I have seen a few smart locks already. And if you talk to the smart lock user with some experience, you typically hear that sometimes things work out great and sometimes they just don't run that smoothly. And the typical problem that operators are trying to use with smart locks are immediate access to a unit in a self-storage. And you can solve this problem with a combination padlock. And operators have been doing this for forever, right? You could take a combination padlock, set a code, put it on the unit, and when a tenant books, you just send them this code. And what my access solution Rubik does, it helps you manage these locks. It helps you get this code into the email that is then sent to the tenant. So it's a padlock management software, really.
Okay, so the thing I think is really interesting about it is it's I've got my own sites, obviously, and in those sites I put in a system that customers can open the gates and then open up the doors, the exact units, and it works very well. But for a lot of operators, for me too, it was an expense up front, so I had to pay for all the locks. And the nice thing about it is it helps me let customers, on a Sunday afternoon or any evening or any time, book online and just move in without them having to talk to staff. Now, some people do call staff and we talk to them, but people can just move in without ever contacting us. And so the thing that I think is nice, I've always liked about Rubik, is that it's kind of a similar solution. It solves the same problem, but it's a much, much lower cost because you can go and buy padlocks, basically. Is that the right way to think about the solution and how and the benefit of it, I suppose, over some of the other stuff in the market?
Price is definitely a big point here. So the issue I was seeing before I started Rubik is that some operators just don't want to spend the money. Some operators might have it, but are actually happy with a low-tech solution if it solves this aspect of access, and this is really where Rubik fits in. A third group I'm seeing is operators that are looking to retrofit existing sites. You've been using padlocks forever, and you have a 90% occupancy. You want to automate the journey, but it would be a lot of work to retrofit all the units and go through the hassle of installing locks when units are occupied. It just costs too much, and this is a particularly good case when I'm seeing operators prefer to have these padlocks on existing sites. And for new sites, they might consider smart locks, but especially when they think of retrofitting, a padlock solution like this is a good fit often.
Okay, so you're seeing interest on people who are developing new sites, but also a lot of conversions, really, or people who are already using padlocks and finding an easier way to manage them. So
Absolutely. Conversions are a big group, yes.
okay, okay, so it's a padlock. Do people have to buy the padlock off you, or is it any padlock they can use?
It's up to the user, really. I started out telling operators to buy their own padlocks, but quickly realized that, you know, buying 100 padlocks and then setting the code yourself can be a lot of work. It can introduce errors. So
Hmm.
I started selling my own locks. So if you want, this just for convenience, you can buy my locks. What's different about these? You have a QR code at the front and the back, and they've been pre-programmed in the factory. So somewhere in China, some guys have been setting the codes and checking that they are correct. So the convenience of these locks is you scan them and you can use them right away. But you can absolutely bring your own locks. I will send you QR code stickers like these. I have them in different sizes, and I just give them away for free because they basically cost nothing.
Okay, okay.
So in
So
that case, it's probably interesting to know you can buy the lock. If you buy the lock, it's 20 euro, and 1 year of app use is included. Or if you decide to use your own QR code, you just pay 3 euro per year per lock right from the start.
okay, and so if you buy the padlock off you, it's 20 euros, and then your first year is included. Is it 3 euros a padlock from set year two onwards?
Yes, correct.
Okay, okay. Or you can buy your own padlock and then just pay three euros a year. So if you buy your
Exactly.
own padlock, you're going to save yourself 17 euros. So if you can buy padlocks, if you want to buy padlocks yourself, you can. That's the sum. Okay, is that right?
Yes. Yes, that's correct.
Okay, okay. So if we just take a step back, so let's say I was opening up a new site and I decide to uh, just put a smart entry system on the gates. So Rubik does not cover gates, so you're going to integrate alongside something else that will open
Exactly.
and close the gates. So maybe PTI or Barebox or OpenTech, there's a bunch of them. So something like that, maybe to open the gates. And then the padlock solution is going to be a sort of a secondary system that's used at this site. So let's say I'm opening up a new site, at my third indoor site, and I get something to open up and close the gates, and I think I'm going to put padlocks on the doors. So, what's the process then? Like, let's say we've decided to order it. You're sending me the padlocks in the post. What's the process for an operator then to actually set things up from there?
You sign up for the Rubik app. In the application, you can invite your team, your site managers, everyone who's supposed to use the app. You can connect Stora. You can generate the credentials that Stora needs to get this set up. So
Mhm.
it will be generated in Rubik. You can hand it over to Stora support or set it up yourself.
Mhm.
Once the two systems are connected, you want to add your logs to the app. So you have a bunch of logs and you need to scan them to add them to your inventory. That's the next step. And once you're done with that, you need to lock your units. And for that, you have an app on the phone that has a list that shows you a list of units that you need to lock, right? You always need to lock the units that are available, not all the units, but Rubik only secures available units or can be used for overlocks. These are the two situations, right? So when we have a new site, clearly that would be all the units that we would need to secure with the locks. If
Mhm.
you have an existing site, then it's only as many as you have available ones plus overlocks if you choose to use Rubik for that,
Okay.
right? So when you do the locking, the process is basically you have the app, you go through the list. In the app, you see the unit name, you go to the unit, you're told to take any lock, scan
Mhm.
it. by scanning the lock is recognized by the QR codes. The application knows what the unlock code is for the lock and tells you, please, prepare the unit for the next move-in and then lock it with this padlock. Once you've confirmed that, Rubik knows that this unit is associated with a certain lock. And when someone moves into that unit, Stora lets us know, and we can send the tenant access credentials, so the PIN code to open this lock on the unit.
Okay, so the PIN code will be sent to the customer by Stora or whatever system the operator is using. So the customer gets a 4-digit PIN by email, so they can open up the door and move into their unit.
Correct.
What does the customer do with the lock at that stage? So they turn up, open up the unit, they've got this padlock in their hand. What do they do at that stage?
What does the customer do with the padlock? That's a very good question, because it does not stay with the customer. So all our users at the moment have the following process. When someone moves in, when you prepared the unit, when you put this lock on the unit, you actually left a padlock with keys inside the unit.
Okay.
You secure the unit with this combination padlock. Now, when the tenant moves in, the tenant doesn't need any app or anything, right? The tenant got the information via email. They removed this combination padlock, and I at the same time told that they should leave this in a Dropbox at the exit and use this padlock instead.
Okay.
Yeah, and the whole reasoning is
their own. So the operator could sell them the padlock, or they could just put it in the unit for free. They could rent. We know some people rent a padlock for a couple of pounds a month.
Yes.
Anything. It's up to the operator to decide what to do there.
Yes, exactly.
Okay. So then the customer puts the lock back into the box, like a Dropbox. What happens then with the operator? So as an operator, I suppose there's two things can happen there. Is the customer stays for a period of time and then vacates the unit, and you have this. I presume you put the padlock back on. So it'd be interesting to talk about that, because that's probably what happens most of the time. But then there's also a time when somebody's payment fails and you want to overlock the unit. So can you talk to me about what are the operator steps then once it's put back into the Dropbox?
In the Dropbox. So you need to collect these logs, right? You want to know that the log was returned. Otherwise, at some point, you might want to charge the customer for the log. Or if you're very strict about returning the log, you might want to overlock them with another combination padlock, right? Maybe I'll briefly address why it's even why we require the tenant to return this log, right? It's sometimes it looks just like a hassle, right? Why not just leave the combination padlock on the unit? The problem here that I've heard from big operators with hundreds or thousands of units is that at some point you will have a tenant that will have a problem, some issue with the unit, and knowing that you had the initial access information, they will claim that you had access and share some responsibility in whatever issue they have. By leaving a padlock, it looks like it's familiar to you.
Yeah, well, we found drugs in a unit, and I was thinking, if it came down to it, we didn't have to, but could they claim they weren't my drugs? You put the drugs in. I have had somebody had a mouse one time found in their unit and he was not happy, and I was thinking to myself, he potentially brought the mouse in. Like, who can prove it? But anyway,
exactly. Yeah. It's like flying the soup. Yeah.
I guess
absolutely.
The point here,
yeah. So because of this, so it's either to not be liable for anything that happens in the unit, or sometimes it's a legal requirement. So it really depends on the market. For example, in Australia, it is a requirement. So that's the only way you would do it. And we've just started out this way, and we're doing it for every user like this at the moment. So you have to return the combination padlock. Okay. Now that it's been returned, you need to collect it at some point, just to know that it was returned and not just discarded.
Okay.
So the operator that the site manager really does two things with the Rubik app. One is collect the logs. When I go on site, I typically go to Dropbox first. I open it, I check if the logs are there, and I confirm in the app that they've been returned. And then the second thing is I lock the units. We've already addressed locking the units. Overlocking is also part of that. So with overlocking, how can you deal with overlocking? Now we are coming to the weak point in a way of the app. Why? You always need to lock the unit manually, right? For sharing access, you don't need to go on site. Sharing access is always instant. But in order to lock the unit, you need to go there and physically put the lock on the unit. Now, 99% of the operators I know usually go and check their empty units, prepare them for the next move in, and then it's okay to, just add another lock. Now, for overlocks, the situation might be a little bit different. It might be a bit more urgent, and you don't want to drive there for an hour just to put a lock on the unit. So our users that use Rubik say that either they are fine to just overlock once a week, for example. They're visiting the site once a week, and then they do all the lock jobs and also overlocks. Or they have personnel on site more regularly anyways, right? But we've had users who said that they wish to operate the site without, with just one visit a month or so. In that case, it was sometimes a better choice to get a smart lock if overlocking the unit is very important to them. Now, with overlocking, you can also argue that typically operators have an electronic gate access system. So Rubik always works in parallel with any gate access system. And if you can overlock your user in the gate access system, that's oftentimes enough for the operator.
That's a very good point. Yeah. So if you can't get into the gate, you can't get to the door anyway. The operator tasks on a recurring basis are go to site and collect the padlocks.
Correct.
And attach, if there are any newly available units, go and put them onto those units.
Exactly that.
Yes. And the second task would be if there's an overlock to be done, it would be go and overlock as well. And you could do that daily, weekly, monthly, depending on how much you want to get. But yeah, I can see how if you want to go monthly, then there will be a time whenever somebody might move out of a unit and it might be sitting empty and unlocked for 3 weeks.
Yeah. So what our operators typically have move outs on a certain day of the week, right? Because if you had them spread out over the whole month, if people can move out anytime, it's not as convenient. It's just as a process generally, like not even considering Rubik, but generally, if you have very few units and people can move out any day of the month, it's very convenient for the user, but it's less convenient for you as an operator because you might have to go there any day of the week, or you have empty inventory, right? As you're saying. So what we typically advise is, if you can, if your market allows, try to bundle your move outs. Maybe just at the end of the month, or maybe in the middle of the month and at the end of the month, and that's when you can also do the lock jobs and everything else all at once.
Yeah, that's interesting. So what you're saying there is there's the limitation of the system, which you've said it's you can't, you have to go on site for overlocks and to replace padlocks, but there's a way around that. And maybe with if you're using Stora, for example, you could just set your terms that if you're when you give notice, you have to pay until the end of the month, or whenever you give notice, you have to pay until the end of the next month or whatever it might be, or you have to give notice and it's until the next Friday or whatever. So you can change your terms around that so that the move outs are all on one day weekly, one day monthly, and that way you're not losing out with empty units. That's a nice solution around that. So Sebastian, so it sounds like, I think I've got my head. Is there anything else around the process then that we haven't gone through? so far?
No, basically this is it. It's very simple. Padlocks are simple. The process is really you just need to physically put the lock on and then make sure it's been removed. In between, you need to send the code to the tenant, and that's it. It's a simple solution. It's a little bit different than electronic access systems. So you have to get into it initially, but we help users with onboarding, and typically, half an hour onboarding is sufficient to understand how it works, and users then appreciate, usually, like at least the ones that go for the solution, they like that it's simple. There's nothing, not much technology involved in a good way.
Okay. So we'll finish up with a couple of just a couple of kind of quick questions. So just a few things. Some of them we've been through, but just to get sort of just a summary here. One thing we haven't talked about is what countries is Rubik available in? Where do you sell Rubik to?
I'm happy to sell in all countries except Russia and United Arab Emirates, right? Because of legal reasons, how the software needs to be built there. But basically we are available worldwide. We have customers from Puerto Rico was an interesting one, Cayman Islands, up to Thailand, New Zealand, lots of users in Europe and also in the UK.
And for support, if people have questions, are you the person to be in touch with? Are there different language limitations? Anything anyone should be aware of, or is that not a big issue?
So most issues or most help is usually needed around onboarding. So that's where I'm ready to help. Anyways, I only speak English and German though, so we do have some limitations. Maybe if an Italian user wanted someone onboarding in Italian, we can't offer that. But generally, yes, I'm available for support. You can just contact me through the app. There's, like this small chat bubble. You just send the message and I'll see it right away. And I'm usually quick to respond. I respond any day of the week.
So just pricing. So we talked about pricing. So can you just recap the pricing for Rubik as well?
€20 per lock. You don't need to buy the combination padlock. You can buy your own. I will send you QR code stickers. In any case, it's €3 per lock per year. Mm-hmm. And that is from the second year if you buy the lock, and from the first year if you bring your own.
Perfect. Okay. So €20 for padlock, €3 a year from year 2 onwards, or else use your own padlock, and it's €3 a year from day one.
Exactly.
Okay. Brilliant. Is there anything else that I haven't asked or listeners should be thinking about when they're considering what smart entry system they should use? Any final comments on that, or anything else that we haven't talked about?
Generally with access systems, it's talk to users who've used it before, other operators. I can only recommend it. It's always interesting to hear from people who've been actually using it for a year or two or longer. Yeah. And then decide what fits your operation best. It's like Rubik is definitely not an ideal solution for everyone, but I've seen there's definitely a good portion of even new storages that can make good use of it. Yeah.
And if somebody wants to reach out and talk about pricing or the solution or become a customer, what's the best way to do that?
You can reach me at sebastian@rubiklock.com, or you just go to the website rubiklock.com and we have a contact form. You can contact me there as well. And if you sign up, you'll also have the support possibility. You can send me a message anytime.
Great. Okay. All right, Sebastian. Well, thank you very much. That was really helpful, and it was great. I enjoyed hearing more about the system too, because we've only just recently added the integration into Stora. So really interesting to hear. It sounds like a nice pragmatic solution. Sometimes that it works. It does the job. It's pretty straightforward, but it helps people achieve quite a lot of freedom with their site, in terms of letting people move in. So yeah, it's interesting. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Gavin. Yes, it's good to be integrated with you. I've already seen a lot of interest from your store users at a conference last year in the UK. So I'm happy to bring it to them, and they can contact me with any questions. Thanks, Gavin, for having me.
Thank you, Sebastian. Thank you.
Goodbye.
Thank you for listening to Self-Storage Explained, where we aim to provide expert advice on how to set up and scale your self-storage business. For more resources, including financial models and in-depth guides for setting up or growing your business, visit our Self-Storage Academy at stora.co, that's stora.co/academy. And if you would like to find out more about how Stora can help your business grow sales and save time, set up a demo or contact us at stora.co, that's stora.co. Thank you.